What's up everyone, Nick here with my review for The Flash Season 3 Episode 5. This one is titled Monster. Now this episode, spoiler warning here because I'm going to go into full spoilers about, what's going on with this episode and what actually happened with some pretty major characters. So again, if you guys haven't seen the episode, go watch it and come back to this review and we can talk about some pretty cool stuff going on. So overall with this episode, before I watched it, I assumed that it was just going to be focusing on this giant monster, like this almost Cloverfield-like monster, looked like a giant kaiju, and I thought it was going to be kind of like a fun, kind of wacky episode, especially given the fact that they're introducing this new kind of hipster Harrison Wells. However, when I actually watched the episode, it was almost the exact opposite of that. It was a very character-driven episode and focused almost entirely on Caitlin Snow's transition into Killer Frost. This really felt like the origin story of Caitlin Snow in The Flash, all the while setting up this new version of Harrison Wells who's pretty much nothing like we've seen of the character thus far. This version of Harrison Wells is actually an entrepreneur from his Earth that was actually exposed as being kind of like a fraud, like a phony, almost like a con man, who other people propped him up to be this great, inventor of things, but really he's just kind of like an idea guy. He wasn't really the guy that actually had the knowledge to, solve things, because in the episode they constantly are looking at him like, what are you kind of doing there? You don't know what you're doing, and you're just kind of saying things, just repeating what we say, just in a slightly different way. And that's when they get to the bottom of it, because they're really suspicious of him throughout the episode, and Cisco and Barry actually go through his stuff and find out that he's been recording these audio logs to himself. And initially they're skeptical of him because they think, oh, he's just trying to hide something, he has his own agenda that we don't know about. But it actually turns out that he's a novelist, and this whole time all these audio logs he's been recording are just kind of to further his novel, so he has ideas and plot stuff, which I thought was a really cool twist and a really cool way to subvert our expectations in terms of what we expect from a new version of Harrison Wells, because like they mentioned in the episode, every version of Harrison has had this kind of deep underlying secret that they don't want to know about, and this one, he just was like a novelist. He just, he had a really legitimate thing that he was trying to keep a secret, and he thought that they wouldn't really think anything of it, so he kind of just did it on his own. But going back to the whole Caitlin Snow thing, it was really cool seeing her finally develop into the Killer Frost that we know, and that we've seen actually of Earth 2, because when we see her, the Killer Frost aspect of her, when it takes over, her eyes turn white, just like we saw in Earth 2's Killer Frost, and it was really cool to see the evolution that her character is having, because she's been this kind of meek scientist up until now in the whole series, and she's starting to actually learn that she has these dangerous powers and what she could do with them, but she's also afraid of what she can do with them at the same time. But it looks like things are going to spiral out of control sooner or later. But like I said, pretty solid episode overall. The monster thing was kind of disappointing, that it turned out to just be some kid that was hacking things and making a giant projection of a monster because he was bullied at school. That was kind of like a bummer, it just felt like a filler type of villain. But like I said, pretty cool stuff here. Also, I want to mention too, I forgot about this, the Julian storyline actually came to a head where Barry and Julian were actually able to come together and, sort out their differences for the most part. And we actually got to see a different side of Julian this episode, a more vulnerable side of him, of his character, and that he was actually from this, wealthy line of people in England, and then he kind of rebelled against them and went to the States to become a forensic scientist because he wanted to be this great scientist that people recognize him for being in the field of science. And he's got resentment over what happened with the particle accelerator and metahumans, because that kind of thwarted his whole plan of being this great scientist, because he doesn't really know anything about metahumans. That's why he's so resentful towards them, and he hates them because he is upset about them, because that kind of messed up his whole career as a scientist. So like I said, we got to understand a bit more about Julian this episode, and I enjoyed seeing that aspect of it. Overall, pretty great episode. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I want to hear what you guys thought down in the comment section below though. What did you guys think of the whole Killer Frost origin story? What did you guys think of the new hipster Harrison Wells? And how about that character development for Julian towards the end of the episode? Be sure to leave all those thoughts down in the comment section below. If you guys are new to the channel and you like this video, subscribe for more content like this. My name is Nick, and I'll catch you guys next time.